So good morning and afternoon to everyone. Welcome to today's conference. My name is Leila from the Center for Educational Technology, and I'm here to answer any general questions or technical questions you may have. If you're having any technical questions, please reach for the chat. You can find it at the bottom of your screen, and you can send me a private message and we'll try and figure it out together. Take note, all audio will be streamed through your computer speakers or your headphones or wherever you're connecting from. So just adjust your volume accordingly. At the end of this session, we will have some Q&A. So we'll ask you to have any questions you may have to write in the chat, and we'll collect them and read them at the end. Before, we do want to see where you're all from. So either write it in the chat so we can see really we're from all over the world. Or you can scan the barcode with your camera and enter. So we'd really love to see who is here. And we'll begin shortly. Just to give you, here, so we really have from everywhere. It's really exciting. So today's conference, Connecting the Dots with Micro-credentials, will highlight some stories of success and spread best practices to other partners and countries. I would like to invite Karen Cater, the CEO of Digital Promise, the president and CEO, to speak a few words.
And a huge welcome. Good morning. Huge welcome to all of you who've joined us from wherever you are in the world. I see lots of different places represented. Very nice to see you all. So at Digital Promise, we seek to spur innovation to advance education opportunities for everyone by leveraging the power of technology and also by leveraging the evidence from research. So today's event is designed to develop new ideas to support and improve the teaching profession, and in particular through this concept of personalization, personalizing professional learning, advancing all of the kinds of things that teachers are learning throughout their careers, and through this kind of practice of micro-credentialing. So we'll learn much more about that today. So we all know education is critical for a healthy economy, for advancing social justice, and securing a bright future for all students everywhere. So we join with partners across the globe to drive towards the best possible solutions and the best possible education for all. As we get started this morning, I'd like to thank Guy Levy and all of you at the Center for Education Technology in Israel for hosting this online conference. It should be really interesting, and hopefully everybody will engage, ask questions, provide ideas, comments, whatever you're thinking. And hopefully this is just the start, not the end of a great conversation. There's a terrific lineup of speakers who've joined us today. You'll meet them all later. And I will be pleased to join you at the last hour and moderate the closing session on policies and practices with some great experts in that area. So thank you, and I look forward to the morning here, other times of day everywhere else. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Karen, and I will have some words like to conclude, and I want you to look at that. This guy, Einstein, you can all read what he said. And in 2014, I think, I met Karen in the iNACOL conference in California, and she was talking about a new approach for personalization in professional development, competency-based micro-credentials. And I said to myself, wow, this is the first time I hear a solution for a problem with a different kind of thinking that was when the problem was created. And it was solving the problem with new and innovative thinking, competency-based. Anytime, anywhere, the teacher can go in, and it is directly connected to the pedagogical practice. Third, professional development is now the responsibility of the teacher. This was a major change. I came back to Israel, and we immediately partnered with the Israeli Ministry of Education for development and implementation. Together with the Israeli MOE, we feel that we're conquering new frontiers and setting new standards for professional development in the Israeli education system. And just, to all you guys from across the world, T.S. Eliot said once that we've got to take risks, and only if we take risk, we'll understand how far we can go. And I think that it is important, especially today, because innovation, entrepreneurship, transformation, which all lead to change, cannot exist without taking risks. Take risks, and you will see how far you can go. And again, also, I'm thankful to Karen and the Digital Promise team for this great model, and to the Israeli Ministry of Education, and especially to Mr. Eyal Ram and Mrs. Dalia Fenig, who are going to be part of the last session, for leading this endeavor brilliantly up to now. It is really they're really risk takers. They have to gone through a lot of hurdles, but we're there. And finally, yet importantly, we, Digital Promise and CET, will be thrilled to assist any of you to launch competency-based micro-credential professional development in your country. Thank you.
Before we start with our speakers, we really just want to show you, you guys shared in the chat, we really see from everywhere, from Iowa, from Utah, from India, and we'll also share with you the results you put in. So we really have everywhere, Texas, Tel Aviv, and it's really exciting to see people from all over the world here with us. Our next speakers are Ardelia Young from Digital Promise and Shira Boehm-Schwartz from the Center for Educational Technology. We're very excited, and thank you for being with us.
Yeah, excited to be here. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yes.
Great. I will share my screen. Wonderful. Can everyone hear me? Great. My name is Ardelia Young, and I am the Senior Project Director for Microcredentials at Digital Promise, and really excited to be talking to everyone this morning. It really energizes you when you see people from all over the world, not, depending on like time zone, who's still awake or waking up and who's excited to talk about competency-based professional learning with microcredentials. And so I wanted to start with a poll to find out like how familiar is everyone in the room with microcredentials. So if you go to this URL right here, you'll be able to put in, or you can text it A, B, or C to be, are you not familiar with microcredentials, somewhat familiar, or very familiar? And I can also put the link in the chat right now. So take about a minute to do that. Give about 30 more seconds. I used to be a teacher, so I'm very big on telling people how much time is left. Great, lots of results. All right, saw that someone had a question. Oh, wondering about a slide deck. Yeah, slide decks could be shared afterwards. I'm happy to share mine. So let's see the results. So most people in the room are very familiar with micro-credentials. So I'll focus my presentation then on just Digital Promise, a specific theory of change around micro-credentials that we've been working with, but I'll also make sure for the 4% in the room that aren't familiar that you have a good grounding for understanding of micro-credentials. But it's really excited to see how many people are very familiar with them. So I already introduced myself, so I want to jump into talking about how are we recognizing career-long professional learning. So at Digital Promise, we started with this question of how can we recognize educators who are meeting the complex and real-time demands of the 21st century classroom. We know that things are quickly changing in the classroom, the job markets are changing, the needs of students in our classroom, the diversity of our students are all changing. And how are we recognizing the educators who every day are making the real-time changes in their classroom to meet those needs? And that's where we see micro-credentials entering. So for us, we know that research has told us what our desired outcomes are in the classroom. There's a lot of research that shows that student-centered classrooms are wonderful. Making is great, like thinking about inquiry-based math. We know what the things we want to see in the classroom are. But we also know that there are many ways that people learn now. It's not just the formal professional development where you go, you sign up maybe a month or two in advance and you sit down and someone is giving you information. There are so many dynamic ways that educators are learning, whether it's through peer mentorship, direct coaching, going online to sites like Teaching Channel and watching videos, professional learning communities. And all of those are ways in which someone is gaining knowledge and experience and skills for their classroom. But oftentimes we don't have a way of capturing what the actual evidence of that learning is in the classroom. And so no matter where someone learns something, what we are most interested in is how did it impact their practice so that we're seeing a difference in how their students are engaging with work or how they're engaging with their colleagues. And that's where micro-credentials help capture that. So our definition of micro-credentials is a form of competency-based recognition of professional learning that is personalized. It is valuable. Valuable is really important because I always joke that we're not creating micro-credentials on how do you organize your desk, because no one would really care if you earn that micro-credential. It's about things that we really value in our practice, and rigorous. Just because they're micro does not mean that the actual evidence that you're uploading is not rigorous to earn it. And once you earn that micro-credential, you can display it as a digital badge. And that's really important because I know people interchange micro-credentials and digital badge, but for us, we like to think of it as there are a lot of digital badges out there, and not all of them will be micro-credentials, which we consider competency-based, like actual demonstration of a skill. But every micro-credential that we have can be displayed as a digital badge. And we have 4 design features that define all of our micro-credentials that we're developing with our content partners. And that means they're competency-based. As I said, you're actually uploading evidence of what it looks like in your classroom, not just writing about it, but actually showing what that looks like through artifacts. It's on demand, so you don't need to wait till February to sign up for professional development. It's there when you want it, when you want to pursue it in your own time. It's shareable. So the micro-credentials don't just live on one platform. They're able to be shared out on social media, downloaded, shared via email, and they're personalized. So the micro-credential is outlining what a skill looks like, but how that is practiced in the classroom and how an educator is pursuing it within their context is very much personalized. And when we say it can be displayed as a digital badge, we mean that it is that every micro-credential is specific. So, the micro piece of it, it's supporting a specific interest, goal, or immediate need. And what's powerful about that type of grain size for micro-credential is that you are getting real-time feedback on something specific. It's very different than if I walked into your classroom and took a few notes. There's so much going on. But if I were to take each day and say, today I'm going to look at collaboration in your classroom. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about effective communication. And then the third day I'm going to look at how you use data in your classroom. Then we're having a real conversation about something very specific that's actionable when you get feedback for it, and you can really reflect on the impact it has on your students in a way that helps you really adjust as you go on, more than if you had just like a macro view always of your classroom. So it's transparent once you earn the micro-credential. It has the information about the who the content developer was for the micro-credential, you as the earner, and then it also attaches the evidence that you used to earn it. It's stackable, so when you go on our platform, you can see that you could pursue one micro-credential and perhaps a whole group of 10 micro-credentials and enter that group of micro-credentials at the micro-credential that you feel you need to start with, or you could earn all of them in a topic area and have a greater conversation to have about your knowledge and expertise in an area. And then they're portable and shareable, which is important because as you are earning the micro-credentials, you want to be able to have them to show anyone. And so I'm going to skip showing that video so we can continue talking. So when we're talking about our ecosystem, and you might hear some of these words today, so I wanted to make sure, since I'm the first person speaking, that you know what each of these things are as you hear them. So you might hear people talk about issuers today, and they are content partners. They're the people who are working with us to create the content that you see in your micro-credentials. It's almost like a mini university where there are many people on the platform, over 50 partners now, who develop the content that they are experts on. So it might be an institute of higher education, like the Friday Institute at North Carolina State. It might be a nonprofit like the Center for Teaching Quality. There's a wide range of them, but they are the content partners who've worked with us to develop what you read in the micro-credential. And then there are recognizers that people will talk about today. Those are the people who are saying, you have earned a micro-credential and now you're going to be recognized in this specific way. And that might be through professional development points. It might be a pathway to a career opportunity. Perhaps if you earned a set of 5 micro-credentials, you are now putting yourself up to be a coach in your school district, or you can lead professional development. So it's all the ways that someone can be recognized for earning the micro-credential. And then there are earners, and the earners are educators, and we like to use the word educators because micro-credentials, while very powerful for classroom teachers, can also be earned and used by administrators, counselors, anyone who's really impacting the entire ecosystem of a school. So I want to go over the different components of a micro-credential that we are developing at Digital Promise. And some of you might know it, but it's a good reminder for those in the room who don't know. So there's going to always be a competency that is the what the earner or the educator is demonstrating. The key method is how they are going about earning it. So you might have 2 micro-credentials that are both on checking for understanding with your students, but the key method might be different because there are multiple ways that you could check for understanding. The method component expands on the key method. It really dives deeper into what are all the different pieces of the micro-credential key method. So if you were earning a micro-credential on project-based learning, it might have 6 different method components parts going from idea generation all the way to reflection. Then all of our micro-credentials are research-based. So the research is listed so that educators can engage with the research behind the skill. Then there are resources. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list, but it is meant to be a place that an educator could start so that they can avoid what I like to call the black hole of Googling, where you just put something in Google and hope that you get a good resource. This is like a curated list to start if you don't have a place to start looking to build the skill. Then the big part of the micro-credential is the submission criteria and scoring rubric. And that is where you will find all the information about what evidence you need to submit in order to be considered to earn the micro-credential. That's going to be all the artifacts, and in a slide or two, I'm going to talk about what some of those are. So here are some types of evidence that you might see in a micro-credential. It might ask you for videos of teacher and student interaction, lessons, projects, unit plans, student work samples, teacher and student reflections, observations, assessments, peer self-evaluations, and reviews. And this is always going to be based on what research says are the best things to look at to know if someone is demonstrating a competence. And here are some examples of some micro-credential topics that have been developed with our content partners. There's deeper learning, STEM, purposeful data usage, formative assessment, maker learning. We have over 400 micro-credentials on our platform now, so they continue to grow in the topic areas that they cover. So how does one earn a micro-credential on the platform? So you can go on and select the micro-credential. When you're on there, and I encourage you to go to the session later with Robert Bajor, he'll actually show you our Digital Promise platform. You can go on and search for a micro-credential and select it. Remember that micro-credentials are on demand, so you can search whenever you want to. You can read through the micro-credential and find out what are the requirements for earning the micro-credential. And then you can go about collecting that evidence in your classroom. Usually you'll need to collect that over a period of time because many micro-credentials want to show a change in your classroom. So if you were earning a micro-credential on growth mindset, the evidence you'd be collecting would need to show a difference from where your students first were to where they were later in terms of them being able to talk about their growth mindset and show an impact on their work. Then once you've collected the evidence, you can upload the evidence, drag and drop, you can submit links, and you will submit that. And then on the back end, there'll be an assessor who will look through your submission and they will assess it based on a rubric. That rubric is open to you. So as you are submitting your work, you can read the rubric and know if you're meeting the criteria or not. And then within 14 days, you'll get a message to let you know if you earn the micro-credential or not. And if you don't earn the micro-credential, it's a conversation we like to have around growth mindset. This isn't it's not a judgment on your entire teaching practice. It's a way of saying, okay, I may have not documented the work that I did as well as I could have. Or yes, I actually did miss this piece on the rubric, and if I were to do that in my classroom, I would even have even greater results than I'm having now. So just as we want our students and those around us to practice a growth mindset, we need to embody that as well. And working through micro-credentials, whether you earn it or not, is a great way to continue to push your growth mindset. And then once you've earned the micro-credential, you can share your micro-credential via social media like Twitter and Facebook. You can email it to someone, all the ways in which you can proudly say that you have demonstrated your skills in an area, or you might need to share it with someone in order to be recognized for the particular incentive that might exist in your area. And so I just want to say some ways that you can do after you leave here, because I know someone else is speaking and then we'll have questions after. So if you do have questions for me, write them down so you don't forget them. You can always contact me to learn more. So delia@digitalpromise.org. Learn more about our implementation, and as Guy invited you to, definitely reach out to us if you'd like to get started. It is by far my favorite thing to do is to get people excited and ready to go with micro-credentials. We just published a paper on research in micro-credentials that talks about our framework and the work that we're doing. And then also earn a micro-credential. When people ask me, like, how do I learn more about micro-credentials? I think one of the best ways to learn about it is to go through the process of earning one. And we have over 400 to choose from, so I promise you that there is probably something for you. And if there isn't, let us know, because we want there to be. Great, but I will pause there because I know we're having questions after someone talks.
Yes, exactly. So thank you, Odelia. I'll start in a minute to share with you my presentation. Sorry. Oh, Odelia, you should stop your sharing. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go.
Okay. So hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever. I'm really pleased to see you here. My name is Shir. I work at the Online Learning Division of CET Israel. And I would like to present our micro-credential model, which is based on the model which was developed by Digital Promise that you've just seen. So it's similar, but there are some differences that you might recognize by yourself in a minute. So I want to start by, that's also pretty similar to what Odelia just presented, by speaking about the pains or the reasons that micro-credential is so essential. So the first issue, Israel's Ministry of Education invests many resources and efforts in professional development. Many physical teaching centers were built. Many face-to-face and online courses were offered for educators, but we cannot always see the outputs of or the direct influences immediately. So we also understand that there is a limitation of content experts that can guide synchronously many educators and so on. Second, teachers in Israel, I don't know if you know or how does it go in your countries, but in Israel you have to study 60 or 120 formal hours each year, depending on their wage agreement. And until the establishment of the micro-credential model, they could only participate in 30 or 60 hours courses. You may agree that not everything in those courses should be relevant for those teachers. Sometimes they need, only small part of it, but they still need to learn everything in order to get the credit for the course, which influences their salary. So now with the micro-credential model, educators can take courses of 1 hour or less, which are very accurate, as Odelia said, and contain specific and relevant content for them. And last but not least, our students, of course. What do we actually know about the transferring from the professional development course into the classrooms? So how can we actually see the immediate result? Let's talk about the holistic solution that we came up for all of those pains. Some of them already you just saw. So we believe that micro-credential model leads to a personalization of the professional development, since the teachers choose their own professional development path based on their relevant needs at the time. The courses are open for registration all year long, on demand, wherever they need. It is based on a clinical education approach, as Odelia already said, which focuses on the student and strives for rigor. We also believe that a teacher is somehow like a doctor in terms of getting a specific treatment to a specific problem. And that's how clinical approach can help in getting a better education. We also came up to understand that one of the main difficulties in the professional development is the gap between what teachers learn in the course and what they actually do in their own classes. So micro-credential model helps bridging this gap by offering the teacher practical tools that can be implemented immediately in their classes. And the teachers are asked to upload an authentic documentation of the practice. So it totally opens the classroom doors, and you'll see an example in a minute. And in order to get a formal certification, as Odelia said before, the teachers should demonstrate mastery in a specific competency, and they can display this digital badge wherever they want. Just to show you our model, so the course includes 5 stages. At the beginning, the teachers learn about a specific competency and meet a specific teaching, a specific teaching practice, that they can immediately apply in order to develop this competency among their students. At the second stage, and you can see that here in this the plan stage, so the teachers plan how they will apply this teaching practice in their own classes based on several principles. After planning, the teachers apply their plan in class and document the process authentically by recording themselves, having interviews with their students, attaching authentic documents, and etc. The teachers reflect upon their experience and document their insights on the process according to a specific guideline that we supply. And the process ends with peer evaluation in our model. So the teachers upload the entire product, which is the planning, documentation, and reflection, to a peer evaluation component on the platform, and assess each other based on a specific rubric that we've built. So this is the model, and I want to show you an example from one of our micro-credential courses. We have hundreds till now, but this is one of them. So this is the course environment. By the way, the current platform that we use is edX, which is the Israeli national platform for professional development. As you can see, the 5 stages that I just talked about, this cycle is represented here on the sidebar. And in each stage, the learners get the information they need in order to complete the stage. This course competency, by the way, refers to giving a positive feedback to an oral class presentation in English as a foreign language in order to illustrate this practice and many practices, and to give our teachers some watch and learn experience. We have built a simulation laboratory with our media and video department. Some of the simulations are presented as one piece, and some are divided to small parts, as in this example that you will watch in a minute. By the way, since it's a MOOC-like model, we developed a chatbot which can help the teachers and guides them through the course. So meet Mika, or Micah, that's the character over here at the corner. That's the chatbot, and I will elaborate on the microlab and the chatbot at session C for those of you who will enter that. So the learning stage of this specific course starts with presenting the challenge, and after that the teachers are asked to remember their own private similar situation in order to get them emotionally involved. So we asked them to remember their first oral class presentation as students, and they shared some of their memories. I must say it's pretty interesting to see all of their memories. After that, the teachers get to watch a video of a teacher that needs to improve her feedback skills, and they are asked to write down the actions that it would be better if she didn't do. And they are also requested to suggest alternative actions. So we will pass that video for now, but we'll see another video. After they've seen this, they see this video, the teachers get a detailed teaching practice, which might help them giving a better feedback to their students. So it has several elements, and they learn all about that in this stage. And after getting the complete information, they watch the same situation that they just saw, but now the teacher gives feedback based on the specific practice. So let's watch this short video together. I hope I just shared, sorry, just wanna see if I shared my computer sound with you. Okay, so now we'll watch it together.
Okay, Dikla, when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Dikla. I live at home.
Great.
With my 2 brothers, my father and my mother. Me and my mother love to bake cakes, and my brothers love to eat them. Our father and mother work very hard and love us very much.
Thank you, Dikla. That was great.
So they just Watch the teacher uses the teaching practice, which includes visual, verbal, and written feedback. They need to recognize the teacher's action and write it down. Finally, the teacher from the simulation reflects on the process that she went through, so that the teachers that watch the reflection might relate to her thoughts or feelings and so on. And here is one example of a product that a teacher that took this course uploaded. So as you can see, she describes her planning and the challenges that might occur. She also documented the written rubric for her students. This is one element of this teaching practice. She also recorded an interview with her student after giving her feedback on her oral class.
Maria, how did you find the oral presentation talking to me?
I found that it's very encouraging because everything that I told you, so you said it's very interesting and you see with me the picture, and it's very, you be with me, you say yes, no, and you ask me and you smile for me.
Did you like the fact that I asked you questions while you were talking?
Yes, because I want to say about my projects. I did everything, so I wanted someone can ask me and I answer about something that I did.
Good. Excellent. Thank you.
Shir, we can't hear you.
Here we don't hear you.
I know. Now it's better?
You're back. Yeah, you can carry on.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So you probably think that it is not that easy to extract all of those competencies, and of course you're right. So along the pilot, we developed several tools that can help the content developers decide which competencies they would like to focus on, or those issuers, as Odelia just mentioned before. So most of our tools are based on design thinking principles, if you know this term. And I can show you one of the tools that we developed. This is a competency funnel. As you can see, it's a very interactive tool. So you can drag all of those sticky notes and write down whatever you need. It really helps the developers to be more precise about their competencies after they complete the whole process. So we have several more tools like this. And just to sum up, just get back to my presentation for all of these movements. So just to sum up, it's important to remember that we are in the midst of a pilot, as the guy said previously. We are only at the beginning of the road, as Karen said, but we can already say that the model is a success. You will see some of this, some evidence for this success in this conference. And that's one of the reasons that we decided actually to promote this virtual conference, in order to spread the word out. So the educational system in Israel applies Micro-credential in this way, but it is likely that other organizations and countries will do it differently based on their own needs. If you want to take the next step and learn more about this approach, so reach out and get in touch with us. And if I may share our dream, or one of our many dreams, we would love to create, what happened? Sorry, they just said that you cannot hear me well enough. Is that better? Okay, thanks. So I hope now you can hear me better. So if I may share with you our dream, or one of them, we would love to create the educational LinkedIn-Linda combination for you, for those of you who know this combination, for educators all around the world, so that so that there will be a direct linkage between the certifications that teachers get by taking all of those micro-credential courses and their CV. So I hope this is that conference will start this making this dream come true. So thank you very much for listening. Tzlil, we're going to the Q&A part.
So I'm going to give you, we have some questions. I'd love to give you really a minute, 2 minutes to really write up your questions so we can collect them and really read them out. So 1 minute, go. Shira, I'm stopping your screen sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
So one question that was asked by Adele, it can be for Shira, for Adele, really. What really is the difference between MOOC and micro-credentials?
Yeah, I can answer that. So a MOOC is a massive online course, and so a micro-credential isn't an actual course. It captures learning. So that learning might happen in a MOOC or it might happen in another course, but it's really about capturing evidence once you've are able to demonstrate a skill. So you might be in a MOOC and at the end of different sections of the MOOC have a micro-credential that you earn that is related to the skills that you're developing, or you might have micro-credentials that you earn after the MOOC because you now have these new things that you want to put in practice and show the evidence of that learning. So it's really important to remember that micro-credentials aren't a course. They're not something that you're going through set amount of things. It just captures the learning no matter where that learning takes place. You're welcome.
We can't hear you, Tzlil.
Another question. I would guess for both of you, how does the peer review work if the teachers start at different times?
Okay, so I can answer from our point of view. By the way, I will elaborate on that in session C. But just to say that we decided to divide this peer evaluation to two parts of the year. One at the beginning of the year and one in the end. So they can upload everything that they want during this time, but the peer evaluation happens only in a very short time at the year. So I hope that makes sense.
Another question is, it seems to be a great focus on micro-credential earner and issuer, but who is the micro-credential consumer and how are they involved in the design of learning programs that award micro-credentials?
Odilia, would you like to answer?
Yeah, can you say a bit more about what you mean by the consumer?
So we'll let him maybe write and then we'll come back to that. Another question, is there a possibility to resubmit evidence or, wait, is there a possibility to resubmit evidence or add to the already submitted parts if problems have been found in the evaluation?
Yeah, so once you, the assessor goes through your work and maybe you didn't earn the micro-credential, there is an opportunity to resubmit. And you can resubmit as often as you need to and through our platform in order to earn the micro-credential. Because in a competency-based system, it isn't about like when you get there, it is about getting there. So it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's not time bound. So it is important, you know, that we're giving feedback so someone can go back and reflect and really meet the rubric requirements.
I totally agree. And I can say from our experience that we see teachers improve themselves during this process. So it's very interesting to see how the road that they are going through.
I'll repeat James' question, then he added a little comment. So it seems to be a great focus on micro-credential earner and issuer, but who is the micro-credential consumer and how are they involved in the design of learning programs that award micro-credentials? And the consumer would be those who are looking for the micro-credentials and who in the real world is really benefiting from seeing those micro-credential earners coming forth from X, Y, or Z micro-credential.
Yeah, I could touch on the last part. There's definitely in the, I guess, quote unquote, real world, our dream is that there is an impact. I mean, some of the ways that micro-credentials can really shine forth is even in thinking about human capital and conversations around hiring and thinking about like who a school district or, you know, anyone in education needs. If you're a school district and you know you have a large refugee population, for example, and you know the social emotional learning is really important and trauma-informed education, being able to see that somebody has micro-credentials and these badges in this area has a very different conversation than someone who just tells you that they're able to do that, because now you've seen that this has been you know, awarded to them by a third party, like expert, to say that they do that work. And also being able to just think about like in recognizing the skills that are important, that are really coming up in education, so that we can have better conversations about that.
Idan asked, have you found in some way the teachers were resistant to such close and accurate coaching? It seems as if they're told which eye contact to make, how to use each phrase. So if you've ever found resistance in teachers to being part of it.
I didn't hear that well, sorry, but I guess something about if teachers don't want to take those courses?
If they are kind of against it because it's so close and so accurate.
Yeah, so I can say that we have several feedback that told us that it can be very frightening to, you know, to open your classroom doors and to have someone which is a totally stranger to see what you're doing inside your intimate space with your students. So we have we get that. So I'm not sure that this model fits to every teacher, and maybe you should be a little bit more experienced until you get until you can feel confident enough to get into those courses. But I can say that we developed several components that I will elaborate on session C that might help those teachers to feel a little bit more confident during those courses.
Adele, you want to add?
Oh, that's great. I don't think that I spoke about any close coaching.
Oh, okay. Can you provide choices for what artifacts people submit? For example, if they choose 1 out of 3 to demonstrate competency, and can you make it so that resources are necessary to use in order to complete the artifact?
Yeah, so Carrie, great questions. In response to number one, there's choices in many micro-credentials in terms of like which things you submit, but to say that, oh, only submit one artifact out of these three is worded very carefully, because if you think about the micro-credential as laying what is like the base level that someone needs to do to say that they are doing this. And you could put bells and whistles on top of that, but the micro-credential really outlines like what is the base of research that I would need to see someone doing, the practices to say that they're doing the skill. So what you'll often see is a micro-credential that will say upload evidence from 2 students that show progress towards, let's say, growth mindset again. But that evidence could include videos, it could be student artifacts. So you have a choice of what they are, as long as those artifacts hit the points in the rubric. And the points in the rubric might be things like, there's a demonstration that conversation changed as a result of engagement with growth mindset, that students, feedback has a different, that it sounds different. So there is a lot of micro-credentials that provide you the choice in terms of like what your artifacts look like, as long as those artifacts are hitting the points in the rubric. And for your second question, can you make it so the research is necessary? No, because it would go against the value of the micro-credential that we are honoring learning wherever learning takes place. So there might be some resources that are like really beneficial to go through, and maybe some of the resources might be frameworks. So maybe in your artifact, you say like, use the template in the resources to answer the following questions. But that's very different than saying you have to watch this video to earn this micro-credential, when the value of the micro-credential is that wherever you did your learning to gain skills in this area, that as long as you can demonstrate it in the artifacts that are being required, that you can earn the micro-credential.
We can't hear you, Liv. Oh, this technology.
Is there a feedback loop that starts with learning from these earners, consumers, and feeds back into design of micro-credential? If revisions are made, do you edit the existing micro-credential or retire it to realize a new version?
I didn't hear the entire question, sorry.
I'll repeat. So it's from James. Is there a feedback loop that starts with learning from these earners or consumers and feeds back into design of micro-credential? If revisions are made, do you edit the existing micro-credential or retire it to resign a new version?
So I can say that we live for those feedback. We want to hear our teachers. We want to hear what was working good and what was less. And we learn from that. We edit those micro-credentials, and we absolutely want to improve whenever we can. So totally.
Yeah, we have some systems in place to make sure that we're making those changes, but we also want to make sure that we're not making changes because we heard it from one place. You need to make sure that you're hearing it from multiple places that something needs to change. So we get feedback from the platform. People can write in directly to us from the platform. And when we work with content partners, the issuers, to create the micro-credentials, we consider like the first 50 submissions a calibration period to really find out, are we asking the right questions? Are we asking for the right pieces of evidence? Are there things that need to be clarified? And really reflect after those first 50 on what might need to change to help clarify things in the micro-credentials, strengthen it, make it so educators are more successful in earning it and making those changes. And in terms of does the micro-credential retire or realize a new version? So with the open badge system, it's really interesting because you don't want to ever delete a micro-credential that exists because someone has earned it and is sharing it. So what we end up doing is you either, if there hasn't been any earners, you can delete the micro-credential and just update it. If there have been earners to that micro-credential, what you'd want to do is create a slightly different name to the micro-credential so that the system recognizes it differently. Or you can add the word like new version or updated to the end so people know there's been changes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Shir. Thank you, Adelia. We didn't say at the beginning, the session is recorded and will be available at the website at the end in a few days. So thank you very much. Our next session will start shortly. We'll start in 3 minutes. So go get a glass of water, some coffee, and we'll begin again shortly. Thank you.